Coming up next on the weekend edition of the RCWR show, we take a look back at everything that you may have missed from this past week's WWE Raw main event, Smackdown, TNA Impact Wrestling, along with the very latest and wrestling-related news and beyond. It's the RCWR Show Weekend Edition, and it begins right now.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Welcoming you to the weekend edition of the RCWR Show on January 19th, 2013. Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders with you all. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Hey, as always, we love to hear from you. You can interact with us right now on Twitter. Hit us up at Infinity1Prod. You can also interact with us in the chat room that's open now at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. Let's rewind it back to what you might have missed from this past week's WWE Raw, where it was the 20th anniversary episode. Bit of a lackluster episode, as we were promised several legends would be returning on this night. The only thing we had received from this past Monday was Mick Foley, The Rock, Ric Flair. That was it. Now, as we all had heard, there was several WWE legends that were reached out to. Now, as we had confirmed it on our show last weekend, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who had took to his Facebook page to reveal that he was going to be on the 20th anniversary episode of Raw, did not make an appearance. Those of you were expecting to see Stone Cold Steve Austin, Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho, Edge. None of these guys made appearances, and as we all would later find out, a vast majority of these men had prior commitments, and as a result of that, they were not able to break away to be at Monday Night's Raw. And very unfortunate, because for this particular episode that aired, despite doing a pretty good number in the ratings, there was only two main attractions that one could take away from this episode. Of course, one of them being the 5-star quality steel cage match that we had got between John Cena and Dolph Ziggler, where John Cena had picked up the win over Ziggler. But, despite that, as some would look at that and question whether or not Dolph Ziggler has been hurt by suffering that loss to John Cena, as I said on a special appearance of Diamond K's show, DMV Wrestling, covering the fallout of Raw, I noted that with regards to Dolph Ziggler, John Cena winning, that Dolph Ziggler, he is still going to continue to rise. He can afford to lose a match here or there. It doesn't tarnish him in any type of way. Really, when you think about that match, for those of you that saw it on Monday nights, it was one of those type of matches. It really didn't dawn in your head that Dolph Ziggler had lost. You really just got engulfed in the fact that these two men were just putting on one hell of a classic encounter. Other takeaway from Raw this past Monday night has to go to the Rock concert, which at first started off a bit shaky, but luckily it started to pick up in a huge way once Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had called out the supervising general manager, Vicky Guerrero, and he sung her a great rendition of Eric Clapton's "You Look Wonderful Tonight," putting that nice little twist on it, saying, "Biatch, you look horrible tonight." That's as far as I'm going to get with some of the things that he sung to Vicky Guerrero for everything rock-related concert from this past week. We highly encourage you to go check out our Facebook page over at Infinity One Productions. We have the concert up on there. You can also check out other articles that we've posted, other vids, some good content. Check it out. And of course, we always welcome you to go check out WWE's YouTube channel over at WWE Fan Nation, as they post a lot of cool stuff, a lot of vintage stuff. Won't be disappointed with that. But I was very pleased with the finish of this concert, as it took a more serious tone, folks, as The Rock had called out WWE Champion CM Punk. And once again, these two men, they end up having a battle of words. And it ended in a brawl. And that I felt was exactly what was needed. I don't know about you all, but just to be kicking back on the sofa and watching all of these events just go down between these two men just really has me more and more amped up to want to hit that buy button for that pay-per-view. Just to see these two men getting on, just to see these two men get it on. I was trying to say, look at me. I am just excited over here. Week away from this match. Big things at stake right here. But I love the strong finish to Raw. Really sets up another strong installment, as it's now going to be the final Raw before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Of course, and another shocking development that came from Raw this past Monday, we were crowned a new WWE Divas champion, as Caitlyn had defeated Eve for the championship. Caitlyn, as we all know, she has been chasing after Eve since September of last year. We knew that there had to been something going on with Eve right here, and as we would see in a WWE Raw Active exclusive, for those of you that have your iPads, you would know about what had happened right here. Fortunately, we had saw Eve say to Matt Striker that she was done with the company, that she quit, that because of the acts of General Manager Booker T, the acts of the stipulation being put out there at the very last minute, that if she were to receive a count out, she would lose the title. She just felt that Booker T was abusing his power, and she's basically frustrated because of men like him, because of what all had went down with John Cena, the WWE fans, just everything. She is done. Now, as we would later find out, Eve is actually done with the organization, as she is going to be taking some time off to go get married, finish putting the necessary touches on a house that she's trying to build, and she's also trying to start up her own women's self-defense classes. But the door has been left wide open from what we understand, as Eve can always come back whenever she's ready. But as far as it goes with her in the WWE, all her obligations has been met. She is free from her contract. It expired. She's done. So now we're at a very critical point right now, where the Divas division is in a little bit of a changing of the guard, if you will. And quite honestly, we have to go a little in depth here. It's not really every day we give the spotlight to the Divas division, as there's so many other things that's going on that's more important, that kind of overshadows what's happening with the women's division here. But despite what all had went down on Raw this past week, as there was really very little, you can't help but kind of look at the women's division of WWE if you are a women's fan, or if you are a supporter of women's wrestling. You can't help but look at what happened right here with Eve leaving. Now, some may feel that Eve really wasn't all that, but quite honestly, I've seen Eve's evolution, and I think she was just a phenomenal athlete in the ring. I thought that she was one of the best polished off divas in the company, quite honestly. For someone to go from model to being a kick-ass diva, I thought she did a superb job. And it's very unfortunate that we are once again in a position where we've lost another diva who has unfortunately left right where she was at the pivotal in her career. I mean, we've seen this happen with WWE time and time and time and time again, that it is just very frustrating. And unfortunately, when we have these divas that sit up and they take these other deals outside of the organization, they realize, oh, hey, I don't have to always put my body on the line. There's these other things that I can do to really kind of get my name, get my brand out there, and so they're not really so keen into the wrestling on the long haul, on a long-term basis, once they've gotten a taste of some of those outside projects. And again, we've seen this happen time and time and time and time again. The only difference now is that there is no Playboy in the picture, since WWE is trying to be all kid-friendly here. And, you know, I understand that they had to put the belt on somebody and they decided that they wanted to go with Caitlyn. But as I said from this past Monday night, I strongly feel that Caitlyn is just not ready in any type of way. And quite honestly, the division is really in need of a serious makeover right now. I think the best thing that WWE should do right now is just terminate that division until further notice. I think if anybody could be in the right position to end this women's division and retire that belt temporarily, it should be none other than Vicky Guerrero. Of course, maybe they could have some type of a storyline go down, or maybe she could kind of get the support of Booker T, and maybe they both could kind of come into agreement that there really are not that many divas in the company, and it's really kind of hard to determine a new number one contender when they have the same amount of divas. And maybe just from that alone, maybe there could be some type of a scenario that can go down where they can retire the title and the division that way, or something very interesting could come about here. Maybe something could come from the likes of one John Laurinaitis. Now, here's a name that we haven't mentioned in a very good while, folks, and here's just an idea I'm just throwing out there on how they can just put a band-aid over the women's division right now, because obviously with what they have is just not enough to really get the fans over. The fans don't really care about this division right now, so until you can give it the type of treatment that the tag division has been getting, this is how you put a band-aid over it right now and sweep it under the rug. Just an idea. Just hear me out, folks. It's a really good one. Like I said, we have John Laurinaitis. We haven't talked about him in a very good while. Wouldn't it be surprising if a certain date were to come up, and on a future episode of WWE Raw, we have an official try to talk to Vicky Guerrero. She doesn't have time for them. Then we see this same person try to go over to Smackdown and talk to Booker T. Booker T doesn't have time to talk to this person. Eventually, what happens is this person gets in contact with Mr. McMahon. Mr. McMahon, he finds out this information, and he has both general managers appear on Raw the following week. And then he reveals to them that this guy that they had shot down is actually one that is trying to follow up with them about a certain ruling that John Laurinaitis had pinned to take effect on a specific date. And that this date has to do with the entire women's division. And this could be a scenario right here where we see the return of John Laurinaitis as Vince McMahon confirms to Mr. Laurinaitis, hey, did you actually do this? Did this actually go down? And John Laurinaitis can say, yeah, I actually did pin this. I'm sorry, I didn't even know that none of this was going to happen. And basically what could be revealed is that John Laurinaitis had some type of a fraternizing relationship with Eve, and that he had put a plan in motion to try to help her become the Divas champion. But at the same time, he did some type of paperwork that would state that once Eve is no longer the Divas champion and she's left the organization, the title and the division will be eliminated within the span of 30 days. You know, just put some kind of scenario out there like that. Just stay with me, people. I think you see where I'm going with this. So basically, in a nutshell, by the time John Laurinaitis pops up and all of this is put out there, and Eve is already long gone from the company, basically we have about 2 weeks left, or 3 weeks left, for the women's division. Vince McMahon and crew, they're trying to see if they can fight this, but at the same time, John Laurinaitis can reveal that he had got the support from the WWE Board of Directors at the time for this. And maybe this could be a scenario where Vince McMahon tries to go to the WWE Board of Directors to see if this can be fought. And unfortunately, McMahon is not able to win. And as a result of that, we have one last pay-per-view involving the Divas title. It doesn't matter win, lose, draw. When it's all said and done, the women's division, it will be broken up. The title will be retired. And thus, this sets up a perfect scenario that can give Vince McMahon and crew the necessary time to go at their own leisure and try to figure out a more concrete plan on rebuilding their Divas division. And as I've said numerous times, they should go outside of the box. They should stop going with the swimsuit models, because there actually are women that know how to wrestle and just so happen to look beautiful, but they are a wrestler first and foremost. And they can go to independent wrestling promotions to pick up some of these beautiful women that know how to throw it down. That's how you save the division that way. And then once you bring in those type of performers, you can rebuild the division back up, introduce a new title, okay? Get that ugly little butterfly belt out the way, and then you can have a new meaning for the women's division. Give a new reason for fans to check out their division, because it'll be rebranded. I think if that much time and emphasis is put onto that division, then they will just be saving a whole lot of people headaches. Not to mention they'll be saving a whole lot of people from changing their remotes. That's just my 2 cents on that. I really hope you appreciated this in-depth look. But again, I can't stress it enough. That's what they need to do with that division. But overall, a lackluster experience from what we had got this past Monday night on Raw. For those of you that would like to hear more about what had happened on Raw from this past week, I highly encourage you to go backtrack to our archive section and pull up our Monday night WWE Raw 20th anniversary post show. It's also available in the iTunes, Zoom marketplaces, available on all iDevices, smartphones, you name it. Go check it out with some really great stuff. And if you want to catch our shows, you can do so live every single Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. YouTube subscribers, you all get a special treat. If you all want my 2 cents on what I thought of Raw from Monday night, we now have an exclusive WWE Raw post show that comes on immediately after Raw. You'll be able to catch that, and it's a pretty good 30-minute recap from what all you might have missed from WWE Raw. Honest analysis, no bullshit, no fluff, just the information, honest feedback on the respective episodes. Special gift to our YouTube subscribers that continue to support us on a weekly basis. All right, we're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, I want to talk about what had went down from this past week's WWE main event. We'll also talk about what went down on TNA Impact Live, where a new member of Aces and Eights was revealed on the night that Bully Ray was to marry Brooke Hogan. We'll be coming right back, folks.
Always on the go and don't want to miss an episode of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown Radio? Then subscribe to us on the iTunes and Zune marketplaces using keywords the RCWR show.
Weekend edition of the RCWR show continues now. Let's pick it up with WWE main event from this past Wednesday, as seen on the Ion channel. Randy Orton had took on the United States champion Antonio Cesaro. Great classic matchup right here, but this match would end in a no contest as we saw Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns of the Shield interfere in this as they continue to beat down on the Apex Predator. Miz, of all people, had came to Randy Orton's aid, but they could not overcome the trio as the numbers game was just too overwhelming. Afterwards, we had saw the United States champion Cesaro come back in to attack Miz with the neutralizer. Really loved how everybody was just connecting in this matchup right here. Of course, the way things are looking right now, it looks very likely that we could be seeing The Miz take on Antonio Cesaro at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. But then on the other side of the coin, it is really looking as though Randy Orton is possibly going to be involved in some type of a 3-on-3 match, as we had stressed last week at the Royal Rumble, as it could be Randy Orton teaming up with Sheamus and Ryback to take on all three members of the Shield. Shield fans, y'all have got to be proud of the way these guys have just continued to have all eyes set on them every single time they step foot into that ring. Looking ever so good. Of course, also on main event, we had got Brad Maddox become the new color commentator, at least briefly, as a result of The Miz being attacked. He actually jumped over a barricade to help call Michael Cole call the rest of the match, as we had saw the Usos defeat the Prime Time Players. Always a special treat when we get WWE main event. Can't really complain. Two great matches that you can see in the span of an hour. Looks like WWE is really continuing to have faith in Miz as a top babyface, as they are trying their hardest to set him up to face on the United States champion Cesaro. Switching gears now to Thursday night's Impact Wrestling Live. You knew that it had to happen. You just didn't know how things were going to play off. Of course, we're talking about that nice day for white wedding, as Billy Idol likes to sing it best, between Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan. You knew somebody was going to interfere in this match. It was just a matter of when and who was it going to be, and it came from an unlikely source. Now, all during the night, we had saw the returns of Tommy Dreamer, Spike Dudley. We even saw Taz leave the commentating booth to go help out with getting Bully Ray ready for his wedding. As remember, folks, the long history there between Taz and Bully Ray. These guys are best friends. They go way back. You knew something was going to happen. Something monumental was going to go down at this wedding. Hulk Hogan against it. Doesn't want his daughter marrying a wrestler. Well, Hulk Hogan got his wish, because in those final few seconds before Bully Ray was able to tie the knot with Brooke, we see Taz get a microphone and say to Bully Ray, was he really sure this was what he wanted? As he told him to be straight up with him and everybody, since he's known him for so many years. Is this really what he wants? Bully Ray saying, yes, it is. Taz then saying, is it getting hot? And he takes off his tuxedo to reveal a vest. It's not really clicking in anybody's head at this point until he turns around and shows his back. Taz is a member of the Aces and Eights, as his brothers came and they ruined the entire wedding, beat up Hulk Hogan, beat up Sting, beat up Bully Ray, while a sobbing Brooke Hogan looked on while being held captive by Aces and Eights members, setting up an explosive episode of Impact Wrestling next week, without a doubt. And as we had talked about on Impact Showdown Radio from this past Thursday, this has huge rippling effects. For one, you would think that with Taz being put out there now, as far as his career goes as a TNA gut check judge, that would now be in the books. Now I think is the perfect setup here where we see D'Lo Brown just go sliding in, and it should be pointed out that D'Lo Brown is one of the TNA gut check judges on the road when he goes to the seminars, and he has filled in from time to time, so makes perfect sense to me to see D'Lo Brown come on in, take the place of Taz as the TNA gut check judge. Let's also think about that commentating booth. Now it makes perfect sense why Todd Kenley was brought in. Love him, hate him. As I stressed on Thursday's Impact Showdown Radio, Todd is the type of guy that will pay attention to a match. He tries to call it. And quite honestly, that is something that unfortunately Taz doesn't do. It's something that Mike Tenay doesn't even do nowadays. Maybe years prior, he's not doing it nowadays. So I think it's very smooth that they had brought Todd Kenley in the way that they did. No doubt about it, Todd is going to be the new guy to possibly replace Taz as Taz moves on to be the mouthpiece for Aces and Eights. Huge rippling effects that this has right here. Of course, that long history between Bully Ray, Taz. You know, this just has so many people talking right now, especially those hardcore wrestling fans. Is it possible we could get a scenario here where Taz could try to maybe lose a little weight, maybe try to get back into some good wrestling shape, in-ring shape, and maybe have a one-time match with Bully Ray? Is it possible? Who knows? Remember, it looked as if a good while back last year, Taz was probably going to be having a match with Joey Ryan, but it didn't go that way. Instead, it went with Al Snow taking on Joey Ryan. Could this be the right scenario? Could this be the right circumstance where we finally see Taz, after all these years, get back in the ring? Who knows? But I love the fact that Taz is going to be the mouthpiece for TNA. Of course, the main question that's going around on a lot of people's minds right now is Taz VP of Aces and Eights? And we were looking at what a ton of you all had to say on YouTube as you all had shared your thoughts from this past Impact Showdown Radio. You all had shared your thoughts about the whole Aces and Eights situation. Let's go right on ahead and let's pull up some of you all's comments. Let's go with Xavier the Lacan. Direct quote right here. Well, let's look at Taz's build, height, weight. Hell, his whole fucking measurements. Compare the measurements to the Aces and Eights VP or whoever that guy was making all those announcements on the Titantron. Looks almost like a perfect match, don't you think? Give or take a couple of inches, and it's a bit of a stretch, I know. But I think Taz is the VP of Aces and Eights. Carlos Hernandez, Taz, why you called Bully brother? What the fuck, Taz? Chris Lackley, thank you. I love TNA. Daniel Clark, I had the thought that the ceremony was going to be interrupted and possibly by Aces and Eights, but I did not expect Taz to reveal himself as a member. And I think this is the best comment that sums it up. And it's exactly how I felt as I was watching this. And this comment comes in from Savajad. Taz joining Aces and Eights was like when Eric Bischoff joined the NWO. I wonder if one of the remaining Max Aces and Eights is Bischoff. In particular, the one who really is covered up. I think it would have been a bigger shock if Billy Ray joined Aces and Eights. He would have reunited with his brother, and Hulk Hogan would have been right about not trusting Bully Ray. Very interesting comments from you all. Let's read one more comment from Daniel, who said, WWE proving yet again they are the superior company. TNA spent a year trying to get fans excited about Aces and Eights, and WWE bring in the Shield, and people are more interested immediately. Why? because WWE doesn't try to fool us by telling us that old washed up no names like Mike Knox are supposed to be a threat. TNA is never going to compete with WWE. Now, let's just pause right there. I think Daniel had struck a chord there from an audience that does pay attention to both products. And there is that core that shares those same sentiments as Daniel. You have those that want to do those comparisons. And quite honestly, as I said earlier this week, when we first saw Mike Knox was revealed to be an Aces and Eights member, it really did not have any type of shock value. It was just one of those, who's that guy? Unless you knew your wrestlers, then you kind of said, hey, it's Mike Knox. All right. So, I do understand the point that Daniel was making right there. And, yes, TNA, they have spent a lot of time on this Aces and Eights storyline. And Daniel, I definitely would have to disagree with you when it comes to the way that this storyline has been executed, because although I will say that the Aces and Eights storyline, it looked as if this thing was just going completely nowhere. The fact that they have introduced Taz into the mix, honestly, it's breathed new life into it, and it's exactly what's needed right now. And if you've followed the career of Taz, then I'm sure you and many of our other listeners know that Taz is one of the kings when it comes to cutting a promo. And really, this comes at a good time right now where Aces and Eights really needs this the most, especially if TNA Wrestling is really trying to get behind telling more stories that can be drawn out over the series of months rather than have storylines be concluded in a month. They want to try to keep some type of consistency flow going. And you know what? Honestly, I am totally okay with that. I just hope that they utilize Taz properly. And quite honestly, I think Taz is one of those type of guys. If he's going to be involved in this, everything is going to have to be on point. So don't be too surprised if we might start hearing rumblings that Taz is really having a strong say in how promos are going to be cut for Aces and Eights from here on. Now, just mark my words on that. I definitely expect him to be very hands-on in this process of taking the Aces to that next level. But just the thought that Taz could be coming out of retirement to face Bully Ray. Can't wait to see what is going to happen on next week's Impact Wrestling. You know what? Speaking of those events, we should point out to you all that TNA General Manager Hulk Hogan, Bully Ray, Dixie Carter, they all had got a little bit into it back and forth. Now let's read you some of the comments that they had to say. This comes from Hulk Hogan. Taz screwed everyone. The one good thing was the wedding came to an end. Thank God. Bully Ray. Was supposed to be the night of a celebration, turned into a nightmare. Devon was one thing. Taz, you're dead to me, scumbag. Taz at Real Bully 5150, dead? I just came to life. All business, big man. Dixie Carter, business. Really, big man. So there is going to be some serious ramifications. And as we had said on Impact Showdown Radio from this past Thursday night, don't be too surprised if you see Dixie Carter, Hulk Hogan, Bruce Pritchard. Don't be too surprised if you see all these guys pop up next week and want Taz's head on a platter. Should be a great setup, as of course also next week we're going to be seeing Christopher Daniels take on Jeff Hardy for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. All around going to be a great episode of Impact Live. Of course, for all the very latest and what you might have missed from this past week's Impact Live, we encourage you to check out Impact Showdown Radio It's in the archives right now. Go backtrack, listen to this past Thursday night's episode. Some really great, insightful stuff as we covered it all, even the latest in TNA wrestling-related news. And if you want to catch the show live in progress, you can do so. Check us out every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And if you're on the East Coast, that means you'll be able to catch our episodes immediately after Impact Wrestling concludes. All right, we're going to take another commercial break, but when we come right back, we'll dip into the very latest in wrestling-related news, and it's my favorite part of the show. We'll go into the very fallout from Smackdown from this past Friday night and get you guys caught up on the latest in entertainment news. Stick around, you're listening to the weekend edition of the RCWR show on January 19th, 2013. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Ever get the urge to follow somebody? Then take a free moment during this commercial break to follow us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. Also on Facebook at Infinity One Productions.
Weekend edition of the RCWR show is back. Hey, want to just take this time out to thank you all, the listeners, for checking out all the great content that we've been putting up all this month, as you all have been checking out the episodes on the downloads, on the listens, and the iTunes, Stitcher. You all have just made your voices be heard to the point that we've been pulling in some really big numbers this month, and we can't stress it enough. We thank you all so humbly for that great support. We love it from you all. And let's keep that momentum going, as we promise you all we're going to have more guests that's going to be stopping by the show. And I'm working on a couple of leads right now. I know we have one special guest that's going to be locked for February. And I think for those of you that are into original YouTube series and all that, I think you all will really get a special kick out of the guest we have that's going to be coming by in February. We still have a couple of aces up our sleeves for this month. We'll be revealing them very shortly. But of course, one of them being a special episode of the RCWR show that's going to be dedicated to our YouTube subscribers, where we're going to acknowledge you all, as you all have helped us get to our 1 million view mark. We've only had our YouTube channel for almost a year, and you've quickly made that be one of our most popular things that we have ever decided to put up as far as social media goes. We really love you guys that go out of your way to check out all the content that we put up on YouTube. You leave your comments, you send us private messages. We love interacting with everybody, even the ones that don't quite have their head screwed on straight. We even love you guys that go out of your way to leave comments with us as well. Even the occasional troll, we've got love for you guys too. We know you guys are lonely. All right, so let's go on ahead and let's talk about what had happened on Friday Night Smackdown, where it was a fiesta for champions, as the new World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio had made his debut as the new champ. Of course, this came with a few party crashers, as we had saw Alberto Del Rio, Big E Langston, AJ Lee, Big Show, all eyes set on Alberto Del Rio. And folks, it looks like we might be seeing what could possibly go down at WrestleMania. It's looking as though it could be Alberto Del Rio taking on Dolph Ziggler. Now, note right here what Dolph Ziggler had said to Alberto Del Rio. He said, you know, I am the Money in the Bank winner. That means I can cash in this Money in the Bank briefcase anytime, anywhere, when you least expect it. And I will be cashing in the briefcase on you, Alberto Del Rio. That Del Rio's days are numbered as World Heavyweight Champion. But for now, we had saw some great tag team action, as Booker T had made the match official. It was Big Show teaming up with Dolph Ziggler to take on the team of, get this folks, get ready for it, Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. odd allies right here. You know, this main event match, it actually ended in a count out in favor of Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio, as the action was just getting much too much for Dolph Ziggler, who disappeared with Big E Langston and AJ Lee. Afterwards, we saw Big Show left by himself. He had to hold the fort down. We saw Alberto Del Rio take a bucket of water, splash it in the face of the Big Show, getting in his mind. And boy, did it work. We see Big Show, he doesn't even want a piece of Del Rio or Sheamus. He actually just walks away, walks to the backstage area. And that, folks, is how this match had ended in a count out. Your winners, Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus. Interesting development right here. Main takeaway from Smackdown right here, definitely the way that the progression has continued for Dolph Ziggler here. As you know, we've been hearing those rumblings there that Vince McMahon is a little bit on the fence about pulling the trigger to make Dolph Ziggler be a babyface. WWE creatives, in the meantime, they can't help but wonder, when is Dolph Ziggler going to become a babyface? You know, quite honestly, I think Dolph Ziggler has just been doing a superb job being a heel for so long. It really does not need to be tweaked. I don't understand why one would want to make him be a babyface now. Honestly, he's been doing such a superb job as a heel. Don't touch it. Let it be. Let him keep doing his thing. If anything, have him continue to work with the top baby faces. Nothing wrong with that. I think the mentality that they're even entertaining right now is just totally wrong. We already know what he would probably call himself if he went babyface. He would probably ditch heel Ziggler from his Twitter handle. He'd probably just call himself Face Ziggler or Dolph Ziggler, if that's even available, which I highly doubt. But, you know, I can't even believe that they are even entertaining this thought. Why, I don't know, but I think it's quite silly. I think it would just be sabotaging him in a huge way. But also, at the same time right here, you know, that probably won't happen for months to come. I don't want you guys to panic. I don't think they're looking at doing this anytime before WrestleMania. I think if a babyface turn were to happen, folks, I think it would probably go down maybe around the summer or maybe close to fall. We could see a face turn. But for now, let's just look at where it is right now. And I think we can now kind of understand why Big Show was removed as the World Heavyweight Champion. Let's be honest right here. Big Show was just looking so dominant in the months there that he was holding on to that title. If you're really going to have Dolph Ziggler be a World Heavyweight Champion, you have to make the circumstances be believable. And quite honestly, nobody would really believe Dolph Ziggler getting one over on Big Show. And you know how, unfortunately, Vince McMahon's mentality is right here. It has to be a face taking on a heel. That's just how he likes to roll. So, unfortunately, and I know we probably have some people, myself included, that was really starting to enjoy Big Show's run as champion. But at the same time, given his size, given his strength, you knew that they were going to have to try to do something weird to get that belt off of him. Now that you've put it on Alberto Del Rio, and he's a face on top of that, and you have Dolph Ziggler come in, who's been doing a better job at being a heel than Alberto was. Perfect ingredients right here. Great rivalry that these two guys are going to be having. And hey, folks, we haven't even begun to talk about who could possibly win the Royal Rumble this year. You want to make sure you check out next weekend's RCWR show, as it's going to be a special Call That Match episode. We're going to cover predictions for Sunday's Royal Rumble pay-per-view. You'll be able to catch that next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to tackle it all, and for the first time ever, we're actually going to open up the phone lines to get you all's take on who you think could be winning the Royal Rumble for this Sunday. So make sure you join us for that. Royal Rumble only happens once a year. Only does it right that we open up our phone lines to get you all's thoughts on who could be walking away victorious at that respected pay-per-view. Now, for you WWE Raw fans, we do have the ratings numbers in for Monday's episode, as it pulled in a 3.185 rating with just over 4 million viewers. Big week for wrestling right here. Speaking of which, other headlines that I have coming up here. We want to give you guys a quick little side note. We had reported earlier this week that it was kind of looking as though maybe Randy Orton was going to be possibly taking some time off. Now, Randy Orton, he had addressed these rumors recently on Twitter, saying, and I quote, "Everyone's asking me if I'm taking time off. I guess some online site said I was. Not true. Move to the next rumor on the list, people." So again, can't stress it enough, Randy Orton is not taking time off. I know we had reported earlier that it looked as if there was some personal problems that he was dealing with at home, and that it looked as if he could possibly be taking some time off sometime in 2013, but looks like, according to Randy Orton, that is not going to be the case. So if we misled any of our listeners in any type of way, we humbly apologize on that. Usually our sources are pretty on point, but it looks like this time around they were a little bit off the mark right here. But hey, quite honestly, glad to hear that Randy Orton isn't going to be taking any time off. You know, let's just also talk about the very latest that we have going on in Ring of Honor. As you know, they have an event that's going to be happening later today, as they'll be hitting the road in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, matches that they have scheduled so far, it's going to be the Ring of Honor World Champion Kevin Steen as he takes on Eddie Edwards and Roderick Strong. Also, Michael Elgin in a defy or deny match. Now, here's the stipulation to this, folks. If Kevin Steen is eliminated, then whichever wrestler pins him will receive a shot at the Ring of Honor World title in the near future. However, if Steen is the last wrestler standing, then whichever wrestler he pinned to win the match will never receive a title shot for the duration of his title reign. Also, Davey Richards will be taking on Kylie O'Reilly. These two wrestlers have had several confrontations in the past, leading to their battle that's going to be happening later today. And looks like there's going to be a lot at stake right here. That should be a pretty great classic matchup right here. Matt Hardy is going to be taking on B.J. Whitmore. Remember, folks, at Final Battle 2012, B.J. Whitmore has survived insane amounts of punishment and had to be carted out on a stretcher when he went through a table head first. Matt Hardy took issue with Whitmore's strong ability to survive, and he said this to Ring of Honor officials, direct quote, "Stronger than death? In New York, I heard fans say that B.J. Whitmore was the one stronger than death and that Matt Hardy had nothing on him. I don't know all about BJ has gone through in his life. I'm sure it's been traumatic, but none of it compares to everything I've seen and felt in my years traveling the globe as an international recognized superstar. I survived drugs, TLC, car wrecks. I have stared death in her face, walked through hell, come out the other side with a smile on my face. Stronger than death? That title only belongs to one man, and that man is obviously Matt Hardy." So what I am telling Ring of Honor officials is to do the right thing here with BJ Whitmore's career and let him get into the ring with me in Milwaukee. I heard you traveled the world a little yourself to BJ, but one night in the ring with Matt Hardy and more eyes will be on you than ever before. So make the most of it, BJ, but don't be mistaken. I will show you and everyone watching that night who really lives up to these 3 words. This is really going to be a great matchup right here. We also have the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, the Briscoes, and Jay Lethal in action as they're going to be taking on Scums, Steve Corneo, Jimmy Jacobs, and Rhino. And also, folks, we have the Ring of Honor World TV Champion Adam Cole. He'll be taking on Cialis Young. Bobby Fish will be taking on Tardius Thomas. And Charlie Haas will be taking on Rhett Titus. Also, in addition to that, there'll be some autograph signings before the live event where fans will have the chance to meet Matt Hardy, Roderick Strong, and Charlie Haas. Again, that's going to be happening in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's going to be at the Turner Hall Ballroom, North Street, 4th Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Be sure to get your tickets. Start time is going to be at 7:30 p.m. And in other Ring of Honor wrestling news, looks like on April 5th, they'll be returning to the Grand Ballroom at the Manhattan Center in New York, New York, as they will be presenting the iPay-per-view Supercard of Honor 7. Now, officials have announced this just earlier as they're going to be holding their first ever TV tapings of Ring of Honor Wrestling TV in New York. Wrestling fans will be able to experience the fallout from Supercard of Honor 7 and join in on the road to Border Wars 2013. Again, bell time is going to be at 2 p.m. and tickets will be available beginning now. So go check that out. Now, ringside membership, it only costs $7.99 a month for you all to be able to check that out. So get all the additional info from Ring of Honor's website at ROHWrestling.com. Once again, you can get all that information at ROHWrestling.com. We're going to go on ahead and we're going to take a very brief commercial break, but then when we come right back, it's my favorite part of the show. We dip into every single time we do the weekend edition. It is entertainment news time. We're going to get you guys caught up on what all you might have missed. If you read our episode description, you know yours truly over here. I had kicked on back and I had watched a solid week of Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon, David Letterman. I'm going to give you my honest takeaway on that, who I think has been winning the new reignited late night wars so far. And I'll also give you my takeaway on this whole Lance Armstrong admitting that he doped himself up to win all those titles and get himself millions of dollars as he had that exclusive interview with Oprah Winfrey. I'll keep it real and give you my honest analysis on that. You're listening to the weekend edition of the RCWR show. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Weekend edition of the RCWR Show is back. Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael. Lee Sanders with you all. All right, so let's talk about this whole late night war battle between Jimmy Fallon, Jay Leno, Jimmy Kimmel. I kicked back and I had watched a good solid week's worth of episodes. Didn't check out the whole episodes, mind you, because I was doing a lot of multitasking. But I watched enough of each respected show just to really get a good feel. Of course, I grew up on David Letterman. I grew up on Jay Leno. Still relatively new to Jimmy Kimmel, but I will go on record and I'll say I love Jimmy Kimmel. I love Jimmy Kimmel. He's awesome. I love Jimmy Fallon. He's another one that's pretty cool. Quite honestly, I've never been a fan of Jay Leno. I think for me, it was bad enough when he had stabbed David Letterman in the back, but somehow I was able to just kind of get past that and watch his show from time to time. And I'll never forget when Jay Leno did his farewell show and he was trying to do the right thing and have Conan O'Brien come on in. But then at the last minute, he kind of switched it up, told the NBC executives that he didn't want to retire, that he still wanted to keep going. NBC, they were already set on Conan being their man, and of course Jay Leno, he tried to see if he could score a deal with another network, came very close to going over to ABC, and we saw the NBC executives, they're just running around like chickens' heads cut off the body, just trying to scramble to do everything they can to keep Jay on the network. What did they end up doing, folks? You all remember they had gave him that 10 p.m. slot. They axed a whole bunch of shows, all in the sacrifice of keeping him on. And basically it kind of came off as if Jay Leno was still doing the same thing, just at an earlier time. So Conan O'Brien is still coming on behind Jay Leno. And of course, there was that new stipulation that was put out there after they had saw that Leno was struggling in the ratings, that maybe his shows should be pushed back a little bit and basically make Conan O'Brien come on the beginning of Tuesday, and that way, unfortunately, it would no longer be called The Tonight Show. It'd be called The Morning Show. Conan wasn't all for that crap. He believed in honor. He believed in honoring the word. And unfortunately, they were not honoring that. And of course, as we all know, we saw the outcome of that. Conan O'Brien, he ended up going over to TBS. And, ever since that whole fiasco went down, I have just had a bitter taste in my mouth. I had refused to watch Jay Leno. And instead, I put my energy on Jimmy Fallon. I put my attention on David Letterman and Jimmy Kimmel. Now, we have this whole late night wars battle that had came about as ABC, they finally got behind their boy, Jimmy Kimmel, and they say, you know what, you're going to now come on at 11:35. We feel you're ready. Have at it. Of course, we see Jay Leno, he counters by trying to come on at 11:33, 11:34 now, trying to get that extra 120-second start to his competition of luring in viewers. But, it's still quite not enough for me. Jay Leno still has that same bland type of comedy that, really I personally just don't care about. I think he's lost his edge. I think his Doritos commercials from back in the day is more funnier than some of the stuff that he's doing now. David Letterman, with all due respect, that was a guy I used to watch every single night, but he just seems out of touch now. And I'll give you a perfect example of being out of touch. He had special guest Michael J. Fox. And as we all know, Fox has been a very great advocate of fighting Parkinson's disease, as of course he has Parkinson's himself. And he's been putting so much money, time, resources into stem cell research. Let's not also forget the phenomenal work that he did as an actor. And I thought it was so funny because I remember when David Letterman was interviewing Michael, he sat up and was talking about Back to the Future. And when he began talking about it, I'm saying to myself, oh, okay, maybe David Letterman is going to mention that thing that had popped up on Facebook over the New Year's Day holiday. That'd be kind of badass, right? And just to really set this up properly for you guys, in case you don't know, I believe it was in Back to the Future 2 where Doc had met Marty towards what was the end of part 1 to set up part 2, and he told him, "It's your kids, you gotta come with me." And Marty was like, "What? Where we going, Doc?" And it's like, "We're going to the future." And remember when Marty had messed with the car there, and he had set the date, he went to January 1st, 2013. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe David Letterman is probably going to mention that and how cool it was that we're finally here in 2013. And maybe he was about to ask Michael J. Fox if 2013 was exactly how he pictured it would be, or if he actually thought it was going to be like what it was displayed in the movie Back to the Future 2. David Letterman didn't even go there. He basically said, "Oh yeah, so you did Back to the Future 2, and how'd that work out for you?" And I'm like saying to myself, really, is this the best that you got? It's almost like every single time David Letterman has what's that guy's name from Sliders? I can't think of his name right now. He was in the movie Stand By Me. You know the guy I'm talking about, Jerry O'Connell. Seems like every time David Letterman gets him on his show, he always references how he used to be the fat kid in Stand By Me, and look at him now. Who'd have thought he'd grow up to be a handsome-looking man? That's pretty much the stick, the same stick that David Letterman always brings up. I just think David Letterman is just so out of touch right now. Jimmy Fallon, he has grown quite comfortable within recent years. He just continues to do some pretty amazing stuff. He is really connected with that generation that is all into the video games. He's really into the current music scene. I love that. He's like a younger version of Carson Daly almost, basically. I love that. But, Jimmy Fallon, his style is just more in your face. He doesn't really hold back. I like that style a little bit more. I would actually have to give the edge to Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel is the man right now. But I will say this. It should be very interesting to see how these late night wars go once Jay Leno officially does retire. As if you haven't heard the rumblings here, it looks as though NBC executives, they want for Jimmy Fallon to replace Jay Leno. Now here's the thing. Is Jay Leno gonna finally go away quietly and really do it right this time around, or is he gonna stab Jimmy Fallon in the back? One can only wonder. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Let's switch gears up a little bit. I heard the rumblings of the whole Lance Armstrong interview that he had with Oprah. Everybody was talking about it. Lance Armstrong admitting that he doped himself up to win these Tour de France and all that other crazy stuff. Let's just be for real here. This really should not come as a shocker to people. Why people are even shocked over this, I have the slightest clue. We all have known this guy was doped up ever since they took away his titles, ever since it was revealed that he was doped up on some stuff, and him trying to deny the allegations or whatever like that. I don't know why this is news to you all. I think what's really funny is the way that Lance Armstrong had described his ban from competing in this sport, as he called it a death sentence. I just think that is really poor choice of words for a man that was diagnosed with TC. For him to say something like that, I'm quite sure there are a lot of sick people right now that probably have a more worse condition of TC and every other life-threatening disease that's probably looking at those comments and saying to themselves, Lance Armstrong, try walking a mile in my shoes before saying you not being able to compete in your bicycle races is like a death sentence. Let's just be for real right here. Definitely a poor choice of words. Lance Armstrong, I still don't feel sorry for you, man. I think you got everything that was coming to you. There is nothing special about you that should really make me want to root you on. I think you should just take your medicine like a man, stop sobbing, and just deal with it. I mean, we've seen so many people who have tested positive for the drugs. You know, they've done the right thing, they've admitted they're wrong, and they've tried to actually be a good ambassador afterwards, trying to encourage younger athletes why they should not do the drugs. And, you know, rather than wallow in sorrow, you know, if there's anything that I've learned, you know, if we can see a guy like Michael Vick, God, make a huge turnaround. I mean, anything is freaking possible. But for everybody that's just dropping their mouths, looking at this whole silly crap and saying, oh my God, he actually confessed. You know, where the hell have you been is all I want to know. And, you know, I think what WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross had said about this whole situation, I think he said it best. I mean, he pretty much echoed the same thing I had said, which is, you know, Lance Armstrong being very melodramatic. Like, come on, man, get real. You know, my message, Lance Armstrong, and, you know, I don't want to try to be one of those type of guys that's just bashing celebrities, because, I mean, I'm the last person that will try to sit up and say that my life is all that and a bag of chips and I've got it all good. I'm not going to even jump out there like that. You know, I've had my share of problems as well. But I do recognize when someone is just being a little bit too extreme, and quite honestly, you know, I just think this was just a big waste of everybody's time. And I just feel so sorry that the family of his has to continue to go through this. But it is what it is. Hey, I got some Metal Show news for you guys. I know there's been a lot of you that have been wondering, when is Eddie Trunk and crew going to be coming back with a new season of that Metal Show? Well, I took a look at Eddie Trunk's website, and he actually posted an update. Now, this is actually from the man himself, Eddie Trunk. Direct quotes right here. Great news today. This was posted on Friday. VH1 Classic has officially ordered another season of that Metal Show. Many have asked about when the shows would be coming back, and to be honest, we were wondering soon. As I have said many times, VH1 owns and controls the shows and makes all decisions as to when, where, and how we do it. Got the notice today, and we will be doing all new episodes sometime in April. And I would imagine that they will start airing shortly after. Very early in the process and no details yet, but we'll keep you all posted as to where and when the shows tape, guests, and how to get tickets when I know. Appreciate all your support, and good to know more TMS is on the way. More when I know and can share. So, that Metal Show fans, take that news for what it's worth. But rest assured, we will be getting a new season of that Metal Show. Very unfortunate that Eddie Trunk and crew have to operate on VH1's timetable. I wish it was a case right here where maybe they could allow Eddie Trunk to buy up all the rights and take the show to another network. That would really be total kick-ass. That way they could pump out more episodes. I mean, could you just imagine how successful this show would do if it were to land exclusively on HBO or Showtime, or if it were to land on Spike TV? I think that would be some really phenomenal stuff right there. But it is what it is with that one. Also, I don't know if you guys had heard about this, but it looks like Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave is going to be doing some side work for the boss, Bruce Springsteen. That's right. Tom Morello, he's agreed to play in Bruce Springsteen's band for the upcoming Australian tour, while regular guitarist Steven Van Zandt takes a break to shoot episodes of his television series Lilyhammer. Now, this right here is huge because it turns out Tom Morello has had great admiration for Bruce Springsteen for a number of years. And if you all recall, he frequently had joined Springsteen to perform songs such as The Ghost of Tom Joad. And they've actually done a few recordings as part of the catalog. So, very interesting development right here. I can't wait to see how this is going to go down. Now, if you guys are wondering, they will be performing between March 14th and the 31st. They're going to be doing some multi-night stops in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Macedon. A lot of stops right there. Norway. Should be pretty cool right here. Go check it out. I'm sure you can find tickets available at Bruce Springsteen's official website. It looks like Chris Cornell and Soundgarden are tapped to play on the biggest stage of them all, as they will be performing for President Barack Obama, as it'll take place at his inauguration coming this Monday. They join a A-list cast that already includes Alicia Keys, Jamie Foxx, Brad Paisley, Jennifer Hudson, and Mark Anthony, as they all will be performing at the Commander-in-Chief's Ball in honor of the Armed Forces. Soundgarden will then play at the inaugural ball with Keys, Paisley, Usher, Katy Perry, Fun, Stevie Wonder, and other musicians. And they are doing this all within the mix of doing their own personal tour dates right now. Crazy. If anybody can do this and do it well with all this multitasking, it is definitely Soundgarden. Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Alice in Chains' official music video for Hollow from their upcoming yet-to-be-titled album, I highly encourage you to go check out their official YouTube channel. You can see it now. It's a really great kick-ass video. Does it true justice, I feel. Better than the fan-made video that they did a couple of weeks back, where they had asked for fans' images so they could take them and kind of turn them into a video. This video that they have out now, that's the official video, truly one of the best videos I've seen from the band visually, despite the fact that the band is not in the video. Nice little habit that they have going on right here, where they are not really dominant in their videos, but really great kick-ass song. If you haven't listened to it yet, go check it out. It's called Hollow, and that is available in the iTunes store right now. Zune Marketplaces right now, Amazon, you name it, it is available everywhere. Album should be coming out this spring. And it looks like, to follow up on a report that we had said a few weeks back, it looks like the Rolling Stones will not be performing at the 2013 Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival. Now, this is according to a source that told Rolling Stone magazine. Looks as though this is a bit contradicting, as there was evidence that had suggested strongly that the band would be performing, as back in December there was a photo going around on the Coachella Facebook page that had a image of a stone rolling on the Empire Polo grounds where Coachella is being held this year, which sent a strong hint that it was going to be the Rolling Stones. Now, Rolling Stones fans, have no fear. The band is still expected to hit the road sometime this year. Now, Mick Foley, he's been quoted saying that they've been offered quite a few gigs, and that even though they had wrapped up their 50th anniversary show, they want to just kick back and look at everything that's on the table and discuss it with everyone in the band, and that they'll be making an announcement soon as they all figure it out. But one thing's for certain, they are not looking to just say, okay, well, we've done our 50-year concert dates, okay, we're done, adios, see you later. This could end up happening in a way where we could actually see one more new studio album come from the band. I think it would make sense right now. I'm not really too keen on hearing the hits. I would be more sold on seeing the band come up with a new studio album, support that, while also still busting out the hits. I think if you're going to go out there and do the touring one last time, and you're going to make a huge amount of appearances, have a new album to support it. I think truly that's the best way you can go. Hey, we got some birthdays that we want to get out the way. A little something new that we did on Thursday night. We only thought we would continue that tradition, have it be a new permanent installment on our weekend edition shows that come your way on Saturdays. So let's kick it off. We got Frank Caliento. He's best known for doing great impersonations, mainly of sports commentator John Madden and George Bush, Robin Williams. Of course, you know Frank Caliento from Mad TV, if you still remember that show. He's 39 years old today. Also celebrating a birthday today is none other than Nicholas Costino. You all remember him. He had played Coach Ernie Pafaso on the famous Boston sitcom series Cheers. Robert Palmer, he had died in 2003, but today is his birthday. So make sure you pump up Addicted to Love pretty loud later today when you get the chance. Desi Arnaz Jr., musician and son of Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, turned 60. Gene Stapleton, beloved as Edith Bunker from All in the Family, turned 90 years old today. Paul Rodriguez, Mexican comedian, he turns 58. Paula Deen, cook, cooking show host, restaurant owner, author, actress, you name it. Paula Deen has done it all, and she is beautiful doing it all. She is 66 years old. Don't ask me why I was saying it like that. Janis Joplin, one of my favorites, the hard-living, rough voice of the 60s. She is having a birthday today. Of course, we all know she died in 1970, but still, today is her birthday. Shawn Wayans, 42 years old. The beautiful, the lovely, the my God, she gets so better looking with age. Katie Seagal is 59 years old. You may all remember her from Sons of Anarchy, but we remember her first and foremost as Peggy Bundy on the Fox TV series Married with Children. Ow! That's all I gotta say about that. And rounding it off, we have Jodie Sweetin, who turns 31 years old. Remember, she portrayed Stephanie Tanner on TV's Full House. Uncle Joey. And rounding it off, Mrs. Dolly Parton. You all know Dolly Parton. She's had 26 amazing number one hits that have reached the Billboard charts. Beautiful and stunning as always. She is celebrating a birthday today. She is 67 years old. Happy birthday to all of you. And for those of you whose birthdays we might have missed, happy birthday to you as well. Of course, for all these great celebrities, if you want to wish them a happy birthday, we're quite sure they do have Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you hit them up before the day is out and wish them a happy birthday. All right, well, we did a pretty good, fantastic job with this show today, and we're going to be on a little bit of a break for now. Of course, the talk of wrestling and beyond, it doesn't end here just because we're going off the air for a bit. Be sure to hop on over at InfinityOneProductions.com for all the latest in wrestling-related news and so much more. Also, be kind, rewind on your favorite episodes that you might have missed from us. Go backtrack in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces, Stitcher. Just use the keywords, the RCWR show. Remember, all our episodes are available for your Android phone, smartphone, iPhone, iPad, all iDevices, all portable devices. And also be a friend to us. Check us out on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. Also check out our page at Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. All right, guys, we are going to be on a little bit of a break. For you YouTube subscribers, you know you all will get a special little bonus treat as we'll have our Raw post show covering the fallout from Monday's WWE Raw, as it's the eve before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Make sure you check that out. Everybody else, we will see you this Tuesday night for a new episode of our Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show at 11 p.m. Eastern. I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. You all be safe and you all be kind to one another, folks. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.